everyone. My name is Rachel. I'm one of the children's librarians at the Broomfield Library. Thanks for tuning into our online story times. Today our story time is going to be about gardening, and the book that we're going to read is called Muncha, Muncha, Muncha. And this is written by Candace Felming, illustrated by G. Brian Karras. It's copyright 2002 by Atheneum Books, and we're reading this with permission from Simon & Schuster. For years, Mr. McGreely dreamed of planting a garden. He dreamed of getting his hands dirty, of growing yummy vegetables, and of gobbling them all up. But he never once tried it until... "This spring," said Mr. McGreely, "this spring, by golly, I'm going to plant a garden." So he hoed and he sowed and he watched his garden grow. Lettuce, carrots, peas, tomatoes, yum, yum, yummy, said Mr. McGreely. I'll soon fill my tummy with crisp, fresh veggies. But one night, when the sun went down and the moon came up, 3 hungry bunnies appeared. Tippy, 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 pat. Muncha, muncha, muncha. The next morning when Mr. McGreely saw his gnawed sprouts, he was angry. So he built a small wire fence all around his vegetable garden. There, he declared, no bunny can get into my garden now. Who's watching him? And the sun went down, and the moon came up, and tippy, 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 pat, spring hurtled, dash, 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 muncha, muncha, muncha. The next morning, when Mr. McGreely saw his nibbled leaves and gnawed sprouts, he was really angry. So he built a tall wooden wall behind the small wire fence all around his vegetable garden. Humph, he huffed. Those flop ears will never get over it. No bunny can get into my garden now. And the sun went down and the moon came up, and tippy, 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 pat, dig, scrabble, scratch, 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 spring hurtle, dash, 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 muncha, muncha, muncha. The next morning, when Mr. McGreely saw his chewed stems, his nibbled leaves, and his gnawed sprouts, he was really, really angry. So he made a deep, wet trench outside the tall wooden wall, behind the small wire fence, and all around his vegetable garden. Ha! He snorted. Those pufftails can't get under it. They can't get over it. No bunny can get into my garden now. And the sun went down and the moon came up, and tippy, 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 pat, dive, paddle, splash, 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 dig, scrabble, scratch, 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 spring, hurtle, dash, 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 muncha, muncha, muncha. The next morning, when Mr. McGreely saw his chomped blossoms, his chewed stems, his nibbled leaves, and his gnawed sprouts, he was furious. So he hammered and blocked, sawed and stalked, drilled and filled and trapped and locked, and he built a huge, enormous thing before the deep, wet trench, outside the tall wooden wall, behind the small wire fence, all around his vegetable garden. I've outsmarted those twitch whiskers for sure, he exclaimed. They can't get through it, they can't get under it, and they can't get over it. No bunny, no way, no how, can get into my vegetable garden now. And the sun went down, and the moon came up, and tippy, 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 stop. The 3 hungry bunnies looked and smelled, and touched the huge, enormous thing before them, and tippy, 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 pat, the bunnies hopped away. The next morning, when Mr. McGreely saw his untouched vegetables, he was happy. I beat the bunnies, he whooped, and he did a jiggly wiggly victory dance. And then, look who's coming. He climbed over, jumped across, squeezed between, and crawled under until he reached his vegetable garden. Ah, sighed Mr. McGreely, at last! Smacking his lips, he picked and pulled up lettuce, carrots, peas, tomatoes, and with his basket overflowing, he reached inside to get something yummy. What do you see in his basket, though? Uh-oh. Who was in there? Muncha, Muncha, Muncha. The end. That's a funny one. That was Muncha, Muncha, Muncha. All right, we're going to do a quick rhyme now. So hold up your 5 wiggly fingers. We have 5 fat peas in a pea pod pressed. Can you make a fist? Good job. 1 grew, 2 grew, and so did all the rest. They grew, and they grew, and they did not stop until one day the pod went pop. Good job. Thanks so much for tuning into Online Storytime today. Take care of yourselves. Visit the Broomfield Library website for additional resources, and we'll see you all soon.